Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Redneck Catholic, where we talk about religious, moral, and philosophical questions from the perspective of a Catholic who lives in the rural American South. Today, we're going to be talking about a pretty broad topic that affects a lot of people, and that is, why should you believe in God? A lot of atheists and a lot of agnostics as well, when they hear about the concept of believing in God, they'll think, why should I believe in some supernatural being like that? It's like believing in leprechauns or the tooth fairy, or I've even heard one atheist describe it as like believing in a flying spaghetti monster. So the question is, if that's the case, then why do so many people in the world believe in a God, other than the fact that they were born into a religion which has believed in some kind of God for the last 1300, 2000, 3,500, or 5,000 years. However long it's been. I was just listing the ages of some of the most popular religions today. So I'm going to try to kind of point out one good logical reason why belief in God is reasonable. And there are atheists who still object to this idea, but it is a real, solid, logical reason to believe in God. It convinced many people in the past, including the famous Greek philosopher Aristotle. So this is really something to give a good deal of thought to. I want to make several points before I start talking about this, though. The first is that this argument does not advocate for any particular God. It just it doesn't get into any particular religions. So this isn't about Christianity versus Hinduism or anything like that. This is just about, is there any kind of God? And the second thing I need to mention is that I need to distinguish the difference between an uppercase G God, the kind of being we're talking about in this video, versus a lowercase g God, which is just any kind of supernatural, powerful being. Examples of this kind of God include Zeus, Poseidon, Ra, Odin, Thor, who you probably know as a superhero, or Chuck Norris. The kind of God I'm talking about, the uppercase God, uppercase G God, is an infinitely powerful, eternal, indestructible creator being that created the universe and is basically the source of everything in the world. This is the kind of God that most modern major religions believe in, including Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and several others as well. And those three are probably the most well-known in the Western world, though. So I'm going to talk about this kind of God, and this is the kind of God that this argument discusses. So the first kind of premise we kind of start off with here is everything around us, everything in the universe has a reason for its existing. Okay? Or not just is the reason for its existing, but it's being the way it is. So, and most things really have several causes, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll kind of try to keep it as narrow as I can. But to give you an example, I'm sitting in this chair. There's a cause, a reason why I'm sitting in this chair. There are actually many causes, but I'm just going to go with one, like I said, to keep it simple. That is, gravity is holding me down to this chair, and it's holding the chair too to itself, to the earth. So we say, why is gravity holding us down? Well, because we have this big rock underneath us that we call the earth, that generates a huge amount of gravity based on its enormous mass. So you see that the original reason of me sitting here, gravity, has a reason for its being there. And even its cause, the earth, right? Even its cause has a reason for being there. For instance, why is the earth there? Because the gravity from the sun is holding it in this orbit around in circles, and that's why it is the place that it's in. And then the thing is, though, even that reason has a reason. Why is the sun there? Because of these gases that are burning within it, creating this continuous explosion. I'm not going to get too detailed because I'm not a scientist, but that's the basic idea. These gases are burning, it's creating this continuous explosion, so where we have this huge, massive object we call a star, and it's holding all these planets and in gravity circling around it. Now, if we keep going, we'd find out that even the sun has a reason for its being there. And we could go on and on and on and on. But at some point, the chain needs to come to an end. We need to come to a being that has no cause. Now, wait, I know a lot of people, especially a lot of atheists, will respond by saying, well, there doesn't have to be an end. We could just keep going forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever to all infinity years in the past. There are several problems with that. But I'm just going to name one here, which is the biggest one to me. And I'm going to kind of illustrate it using an analogy. If we had an infinite number of train cars moving on a train track, they were all moving, but as far ahead as you could see, all you see are train cars. You would still say there has to be something causing this train to move, right? Just the fact that there are infinity train cars doesn't explain why the whole thing works. Similarly, if you saw infinity rotating gears, but each gear was only being powered by the gear in front of it, you would say, that can't be right. There has to be something actually causing this system to move. And that's why just saying, well, it could go on forever and ever and ever doesn't really satisfy this problem. There does need to be something that doesn't have a cause for its existence, something to actually make this whole thing work. Similar, like to use the analogy, there has to be an engine making the train move somewhere on the train. There has to be a gear somewhere in that big line of gears that is powered. It's not just being turned by the gear in front of it. Something causing the whole line of gears to work. And so you have this being that has no reason for its existence. It just simply is. This being would have had to start the chain. Now, there are several people who will see where I'm going with this, and they'll say, well, that doesn't have to be God. That could be some sort of inanimate force, like the Force from Star Wars, for instance. Not necessarily exactly like that, but the same basic concept, this kind of inanimate, inherent, indestructible force that binds everything together and makes the whole progression of things work. But there's a problem with that. And that is that an uncaused being would actually have to, by nature, be intelligent. And here's why. That might sound like a ridiculous thing to say, but here's why. So, before the universe was created, there was nothing else besides this being, right? Before the chain of events started, there was nothing else besides this being. So, it was the only thing that could have started the chain of events. But it can't have done it under the influence of something else because nothing else was there when it started the chain of events. Now, what we notice from the natural world is that the only things that act independently are intelligent things, right? Like planets have no independent movement, right? They're just pulled in circles around a star. Rocks have no independent movement. They just roll down hills due to gravity. Water has no independent movement. All the unintelligent things, chairs, they have no independent movement. They're just moved by intelligent beings, people, primarily. So only intelligent beings act independently. If this being existed in a situation where nothing else could have influenced it, and it had to create this chain of events all on its own. The only way it would have been able to do that is by independently doing it, which suggests that it has intelligence, the capability to make independent decisions. And I should furthermore note that this being would be completely eternal and completely indestructible. The reason being, going back to when I said it has no reason for its existence, no cause for its existence, it just simply is, that means that no set of circumstances are required for its existence, because before anything else existed, it was all that existed. There was nothing else keeping it alive, right? So it is self-sustaining. Humans are not like that. We die when certain things happen. We cease to exist. There's the argument of an eternal soul, but that's a different issue. I mean, our bodies, animals as well, for instance. They need things to exist. If we don't have water, we die. If we don't have the right temperature, we die. If we don't have the right air pressure, we die. If we don't have food, we die. If we don't have a brain that doesn't have a bullet or sword or something going through it, we die, right? We have to have, there's a certain set of requirements for our lives to continue, our existence to continue. This being would have no requirements for its existence to continue because it existed at a time when there was nothing else. So that implies that it is indeed a being that can survive in any circumstances, so it would be an eternal, indestructible being. So we have this eternal, indestructible, basically all-powerful being that created the whole universe that's also intelligent and has an independent will. That right there is an uppercase G, God. Now, I do want to cover one other idea besides atheism, which says there is no God. And this idea I want to cover is called Deism, which is, well, God made the universe. Yeah, we have this being that wasn't caused by anything else, and it's all powerful, and it's eternal, and it's intelligent, but it doesn't really care about the universe, so it just kind of made it and casted it aside, so I shouldn't care about it at all, right? What difference does it make? This being doesn't care about me. It just created the universe. I have no reason to think that there's actually some being out there that cares about me. And I'm not going to offer as extensive of an argument against that as I did with this other argument, but I am going to discuss this idea a little bit. And I'm going to say that, remember that this being needs nothing to survive. It's already an infinite, eternal, all-powerful being, so it doesn't need anything. So it didn't create the universe to benefit itself, because it can't be benefited. It's already as good off as it can be, which implies that it would have created it to, if not to benefit itself, then to benefit something else. Well, what else is there besides what he created? So that is just, it just kind of doesn't necessarily prove or anything, but it's just kind of evidence that it would have created the universe for the benefit of the beings that it created, right? Sharing existence with them. That is basically what I've got today. Obviously doesn't cover the entire spectrum of reasons why you should believe that God exists, because there are many other reasons. The reason I just mentioned is just one particular argument that's been very popular with pro-God people going back thousands of years. So that's not all the reasons out there. There are many others, but I'm not going to cover them in this video because I want to keep it reasonably short. So I hope y'all have a good day. God bless you, and I hope to see you again soon on the Redneck Catholic. Please like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you can, because I am trying to grow this video and I appreciate all the support I can get. Thank y'all and have a good day.